Chapter 1. The Grin That Changes Thursday. Terly walked through the front door with the kind of grin that didn't ask permission. Amanda Bassett looked up from the kitchen island where she was sorting graded spelling tests into uneven piles. Sent home? Needs signatures? How did this child spell? Because with a Q. And immediately narrowed her eyes. That, she said, pointing at his face with a red pen, is either very good news or very bad timing. Kyle dropped his keys into the bowl by the door and leaned back against the wall, arms crossed, grin still firmly in place. He changed out of his work shoes but not his button-down. Sleeves rolled up the way he did when his brain was still half at the office. Define bad timing. Thursday, Amanda replied. I'm tired, emotionally available, and will overthink whatever you're about to say. His grin softened. That was always the tell. Kyle didn't weaponize surprises. He gave them padding. I talked to my sister today, he said. She and her family want to come visit. For a week. Amanda blinked once, then twice. A week, she repeated carefully. And by family, you mean? Cassandra, Hector, Ella. He paused. If that's okay. Amanda set her pen down. The house was quiet except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the distant traffic outside. She took a breath she didn't strictly need. Okay, she said. Kyle straightened. Okay like okay? Or okay like I should immediately start apologizing? Okay like, Amanda smiled, genuine and calm. She wants to know the woman you're marrying before the wedding, and I respect that. Something in his shoulders loosened. I just want her to like me, she added. Kyle laughed softly. She will. You say that with a lot of confidence. That's because I know you. Amanda studied him for a beat. 3 years of intentional dating had taught her the difference between confidence and avoidance. This wasn't avoidance. This was trust. When are they coming? She asked. Tomorrow. She stared. I'm joking, he said quickly. Saturday morning. She exhaled, picked up her pen again, then paused. All right, I'm in. Kyle crossed the room and kissed the top of her head. You always are. The next morning, Amanda stood in the arrivals terminal gripping her coffee like it might betray her. She dressed carefully, nothing stiff, nothing performative. A soft green sweater, dark jeans, boots she could stand in without wincing. She wasn't pretending this wasn't a test, but she wasn't studying for it either. Kyle stood beside her, relaxed, hands in his pockets, eyes flicking to the arrivals board. So, Amanda said, casual on purpose. Your sister's, the same age as you, right? Yeah. She looks like you? Kyle smiled. I guess. Amanda tilted her head. You guess. Well, he said, turning toward her fully. We grew up together. That answer was technically complete in a way that would bother her later. The sliding doors opened and a flood of people spilled out. Amanda scanned faces automatically, and then a woman detached from the crowd like a firework. She was beautiful in a way that refused to be subtle. Dark hair pulled back, bright eyes, energy moving ahead of her like momentum itself. Kyle! The woman ran. She wrapped both arms around him, laughing, kissing his cheek repeatedly, speaking rapid Spanish that Amanda didn't catch in meaning but absolutely caught in tone. Joy, familiarity, affection without restraint. Amanda stood frozen. Kyle was laughing. The woman pulled back, hands still on his shoulders, examining his face like she needed proof he was real. Look at you, she said. You look older. And you look the same, Kyle replied in Spanish. Amanda's stomach dipped. When Kyle turned and saw Amanda's expression, he stopped short. Recognition passed over his face, followed by something like an internal apology. Hey, he said gently, taking her hand. Come here. The woman followed his gaze. And this, Kyle said, is Amanda, my fiancée. Amanda braced herself for something, anything, but what she got was pure delight. So this is you, the woman said, stepping forward to hug her without hesitation. I'm Cassandra. Her accent warmed her name. It's so nice to meet you, Amanda managed. No, it's nice to meet you, Cassandra said. We've heard so much. A large man appeared, laughing, clapping Kyle on the back and pulling him into a bear hug that lifted him clean off the ground. Hector, Kyle grunted, laughing. A small girl followed, wrapping her arms around Kyle's legs like it was routine. T.O. Kyle, she declared. Kyle scooped her up. Hi, Belle. Amanda watched Kyle shift seamlessly between roles she'd never seen but instantly recognized as his brother, son, uncle, something multilingual and layered and entirely real. He leaned in close to her. I owe you context, he murmured. I promise. She looked up at him. He wasn't defensive. He wasn't embarrassed. He was open. Later, she said. Right now, I'm just trying to keep up. Kyle smiled. Not the grin. The one meant only for her. The rental car was a full-size sedan, already loaded with luggage and laughter by the time they left the airport. Kyle drove. Amanda sat in the passenger seat, listening to a mixture of English and Spanish flow behind her. She understood more from tone than translation, but it all sounded like home. When they pulled into the driveway, Cassandra whistled. This is yours. Kyle nodded. We bought it last year. Amanda watched Cassandra take it in, not assessing, just appreciating. The backyard did the rest. The pool gleamed. Lanterns hung waiting. The fire pit sat unused but promise-heavy. This, Cassandra said softly to Amanda, feels right. Something in Amanda unclenched. Later, as bags were unpacked and Bella explored, Cal pulled Amanda aside. I should have told you, he said, about everything. You're bilingual, Amanda said. You're not secretly married. He smiled. Stepsister. My mom remarried when I was 5. I know now, she said. And I'm okay. Kyle searched her face. Really? Yes, she said, sure. Just, next time. Warn me if I'm about to meet a plot twist. He laughed, relief unmistakable. Deal, he said. Then, quieter. I want to ask you something tonight. Amanda raised a brow. It involves my sister, he said. And dancing. Her smile widened. Chapter 2, Explanations over Takeout. By the time the takeout containers were spread across the kitchen island, Amanda's shock had settled into something quieter, curiosity edged with reflection. Cassandra had insisted on paying, waving off Kyle's protest with dramatic authority. Hector had taken Bella outside to inspect the pool lights like it was a sacred duty. The house felt full in a way that wasn't crowded. Kyle handed Amanda a pair of chopsticks without thinking. She took them the same way. Muscle memory of 3 years softened everything. Okay, Amanda said finally, nodding toward the living room where Cassandra was flipping through framed photos on the bookshelf. Tell me the part I'm missing. Kyle leaned his hip against the counter and exhaled slowly. Not because he was nervous, because he was organizing honesty. My mom remarried when I was 5, he said. Her husband, Luis, was already Cassandra's dad, so we grew up together. Same house, same rules, same grounding schedule. Amanda smiled faintly. Same age. Yeah, that part never felt strange. We were just siblings. And Spanish. Kyle chuckled. Ah, that. She raised an eyebrow. You just casually switched languages, Kyle. It wasn't casual, he said. I just didn't notice. Amanda softened. I'm not upset. I know, he said immediately. But I still want to explain. He grabbed his food and gestured toward the table. They sat facing each other, knees brushing in a familiar way. Luis didn't push the language, Kyle continued. He wanted it to be an option, not a requirement. Spanish was always around. Music, holidays, food. But English stayed dominant at home because of school and my mom. So bilingual by osmosis, Amanda said. Pretty much. I don't speak it perfectly, but I understand more than I let on. He smiled ruefully. I never had a reason to use it with you. She reached across the table and squeezed his hand. You don't owe me constant disclosure updates. I know, he said, but I forgot that this would be new to you. That's on me. Thank you for saying that, she replied. Also, for not acting like my surprise was a threat. Kyle's gaze steadied. You looked startled, not jealous. Amanda laughed softly. I was startled by how much joy you had. I didn't realize how much of you I hadn't seen yet. That's fair, he said. I'm still discovering it too. Across the room, Cassandra paused her photo browsing and watched them. Not intrusively, just attentively. She noticed the way they leaned toward each other without trying. The way silence didn't feel like a problem to solve. Are you two always like this? Cassandra asked, wandering closer. Amanda blinked. Like what? Calm, Cassandra said. It's disarming. Kyle snorted. That's Amanda. It's a public service. Amanda rolled her eyes. I teach 8-year-olds. Calm is a survival tactic. Cassandra laughed. I approve. Kyle grinned. That was fast. I've been watching since the airport, Cassandra said. You're different with her. Amanda glanced at Kyle. He didn't deny it. He never did. Different how? Amanda asked. Steadier, Cassandra said. You don't perform around her. Kyle shrugged. She doesn't ask me to. That earned him a look from Amanda. Fond, sharp, unmistakably hers. Later, when Bella was tucked into the guest room and Hector had claimed the couch with the ease of a man who made himself at home by being kind, Kyle and Amanda stood at the sink, washing dishes side by side. You okay? He asked quietly. I am, she said. Truly. He waited. He always waited. It just reminded me, she added, that even when we choose each other every day, there are still corners we discover along the way. Kyle nodded. I want those corners with you. She smiled. Good, because I don't plan on running out of them. They dried their hands. The house hummed with contentment and unfamiliar rhythms that already felt less foreign. Kyle cleared his throat. So, he said, I mentioned at the airport that I want to ask you something. Amanda's eyes sparkled. I remember. He glanced toward the living room, toward Cassandra and Hector speaking softly, toward music low in the background. My stepdad, Kyle said, voice warm with memory, never asked for acknowledgement, but he showed up, every day. He taught me how family isn't about matching, it's about choosing. Amanda's throat tightened. I want to honor him at the wedding, Kyle continued. In a way that's us. And how do you propose doing that? She asked. His grin returned, not the surprise kind. The hopeful one. Cassandra and Hector are incredible salsa dancers, he said. I was hoping, if you're willing, that they could teach us. Amanda stared at him. Then she laughed. You are aware, she said, that I have 2 left feet. Kyle reached for her waist. So do I. She tilted her head. This could be disastrous. Or perfect, he said. She considered it, his culture, his family, the symbolism of clumsy effort becoming shared tradition. I love the idea, she said. His smile slowed into something tender. Really? Yes, she said. Even when we're bad at it. Especially then. From the doorway, Cassandra watched them and smiled to herself. The test, she realized, had already been passed. Chapter 3. The Salsa Proposal in Motion. Kyle discovered 2 things within the first 5 minutes of attempting to salsa in his own living room. First, rhythm was not transferable by goodwill alone. Second, Amanda's laugh, bright, startled, unguarded, made every misstep worth it. They'd pushed the furniture back with the earnest determination of people who believed preparation could substitute for experience. The coffee table now lived temporarily against the wall. The rug had been rolled up and banished to the hallway like a tripping hazard on trial. Lanterns glowed softly in the backyard beyond the sliding doors, as if offering backup ambience in case they needed to pretend this was intentional. Cassandra clapped her hands once, sharp and cheerful. Okay, she said, already barefoot. Rule 1, breathe. Rule 2, don't apologize. Hector nodded gravely. Rule 3, if you step on each other, commit. Amanda glanced down at her feet, then at Kyle's, then at Cassandra's, which were already moving in a way Amanda's brain could not yet translate into instruction. I would like the record to show, Amanda said, that I agreed to this before I fully understood what salsa involved. Kyle smiled at her. Gentle, reassuring, familiar. You can still back out. She sniffed. Absolutely not. Bella plopped down on the couch with an intensity usually reserved for theatrical premieres. You have to count, she announced. Amanda laughed. She's already judging us. Constructively, Kyle said. He took Amanda's hands. Ready? No, she said. But yes. Cassandra started the music. Something vibrant, alive, unapologetically rhythmic filled the room. 1, 2, 3, Cassandra called. 5, 6, 7. Kyle moved. Amanda did not. Their first collision was minor, Kyle stepping where Amanda intended to, but it set the tone. Oh, Amanda yelped. Sorry. No apologies, Cassandra said immediately. Kyle froze mid-word. Amanda burst out laughing. Okay, Amanda said, breathless. Reset. They tried again. This time Amanda moved, but backwards. Kyle adjusted instinctively, somehow landing where he needed to be, like he was more aligned with the music than he'd anticipated. Cassandra's eyebrows lifted. Oh, she murmured, not unkindly. Kyle missed the next count entirely and collided with Amanda's shoulder. Ow, Amanda said softly. Kyle winced. I'm so sorry. Amanda laughed again, pressing her forehead briefly to his shoulder. I'm still alive. Barely, Bella said solemnly. Hector laughed, hands on his hips. You two are thinking too much. That is our brand, Amanda said. The music stopped. Let's reset, Cassandra said. Kyle, you lead but gently. Amanda, you follow without anticipating. Amanda tilted her head. I anticipate for a living. Kyle squeezed her hands. Just trust me. She met his eyes. 3 years ago, she would have bristled at the idea. Now she settled. Okay, she said. Lead me. The music started again, slower this time. Kyle took a breath and moved. Not precisely, but honestly. His hands were warm, his cues subtle. Amanda focused less on her feet and more on him. They swayed, turned, nearly tripped. Okay, Cassandra said, smiling now. That's something. You're being diplomatic, Amanda said. I'm being hopeful. They practiced for nearly an hour. Sweat replaced stiffness. Laughter outweighed frustration. At one point Amanda stepped squarely onto Kyle's foot and froze in horror. Oh no, she said. I broke you. Kyle grinned. It's fine. It's my fault. It was not your fault. I led us into danger. Hector clapped. Perfect. You're already married. Amanda laughed so hard she had to sit down. Later, after Bella had fallen asleep mid-commentary, after Hector helped Kyle refine the timing of a turn that made Amanda feel like she was briefly flying, Cassandra leaned against the wall and watched them. They weren't graceful. Not yet. They still counted out loud. Still hesitated. But they moved toward each other without hesitation. You're good together, Cassandra said quietly during a break. Amanda smiled, flushed and warm. We work at it. Kyle shrugged. We just choose. Cassandra nodded slowly. This was what she'd come to see. When the lesson ended, Amanda flopped onto the couch beside Bella, who stirred and declared, You didn't fall once. That feels inaccurate, Amanda said. You fell emotionally, Bella clarified. Kyle sat on the floor, back against the couch, stretching his legs. We're going to practice, right? Amanda looked down at him. His hair was mussed. His eyes were bright with something like pride and promise. Yes, she said. We are. She reached for his hand, anchoring him without ceremony. Outside, the lanterns flickered softly. The music faded. But something had shifted. They were clumsy. They were learning. They were already moving in time. Together. Chapter 4. Watching closely. Saturday morning arrived with the quiet confidence of a house that had settled into itself. Amanda woke first, as usual. Not because she meant to, but because years of teaching had wired her body to greet the day before it asked permission. She lay still for a moment anyway, listening. The house breathed around her. Soft footsteps upstairs. A low murmur of Spanish drifting from the kitchen. The faint splash of someone leaning too close to the pool outside. Kyle slept beside her, one arm warm and heavy across her waist, his breathing even. She smiled and carefully extricated herself. By the time she reached the kitchen, coffee was already brewing. Cassandra stood at the counter, hair loose, mug in hand, scrolling through her phone with a relaxed familiarity that suggested she'd woken up like this in other people's homes before. Good morning, Cassandra said, looking up and smiling like it wasn't a test, like nothing here needed proving. Morning, Amanda replied. You're an early riser too? I have a child, Cassandra said dryly. Sleep is theoretical. Amanda laughed and reached for another mug. They stood side by side, unhurried. No audience. No Kyle buffering the space between them. I hope we didn't wake you, Cassandra said. No, Amanda said honestly. I always wake up early. Teacher, Cassandra guessed. Guilty recognition passed between them. They carried their coffee out to the backyard. Hector was already there, skimming leaves from the pool while Bella narrated the process with solemn importance. Amanda sat on the edge of a lounge chair. Cassandra settled beside her, knees tucked up. I want you to know, Cassandra said conversationally, that I didn't come here to interrogate you. Amanda snorted quietly. That's good. I don't do well under fluorescent lighting. Cassandra laughed. Still, she glanced toward the house, where Kyle's silhouette moved past the kitchen window, rubbing sleep from his face. He's happy, Cassandra said. Amanda felt the words land, not as pressure, but as observation. Yes, she said. He is. And so are you? Amanda didn't hesitate. Yes. Cassandra studied her for a beat longer, then nodded, satisfied by something that didn't need explanation. You don't perform, Cassandra said finally. Not for him, not for me. Amanda tilted her head. Is that unusual? For the people who love him? Cassandra said gently. Yes. Amanda considered that. Kyle was kind in a way that made people lean on him without realizing their weight. He didn't keep score. He didn't broadcast boundaries, but he had them. What he lacked was expectation, of praise, of return. I don't think he'd stay, Amanda said quietly. If I had to perform. Cassandra smiled. Exactly. Later, Kyle disappeared into the spare bedroom with his laptop, claiming he had just one thing to look over. Amanda didn't question it. Kyle had always held parts of himself close, not secretively, just carefully. She respected that. Instead, she joined Cassandra and Bella on a walk through the nearby park. Bella ran ahead, fearless and loud, declaring each rock and tree her personal discovery. She does that, Cassandra said fondly. Thinks the world renews itself every time she looks at it. Amanda smiled. That must be nice. It is, Cassandra agreed. Then she glanced sideways. I wanted to ask you something. You don't have to answer. Amanda nodded. Go ahead. Do you ever feel surprised by him still? Amanda didn't laugh this time. Yes, she said. All the time. Cassandra's expression softened. Good. Amanda frowned playfully. Why good? Because it means you're still looking. That evening, Kyle emerged from the spare room with a tension in his posture Amanda recognized. Not stress exactly, but anticipation laced with restraint. She waited until Cassandra and Hector were distracted setting up dinner. Everything okay? She asked, brushing past him to grab plates. He nodded. Yeah. Just thinking. She leaned in and kissed his cheek. You're allowed. He smiled but didn't elaborate. They practiced dancing again after dinner. It went marginally better. They still counted aloud. Kyle still hesitated on turns. Amanda still laughed when they bumped shoulders. But something had changed. They moved with less apology. Kyle caught her eye mid-step and grinned. Not proudly, but gratefully. Like each improvement counted, even the invisible ones. When the music ended, Cassandra clapped once. That, she said, was progress. Hector nodded sagely. You didn't actively endanger each other. Bella beamed. You were less bad. Amanda bowed. Kyle laughed and pulled her into a loose embrace. Later, after the house quieted and the lights dimmed, Amanda found Kyle sitting on the edge of the bed, laptop closed, gaze distant. She sat beside him without asking. You're carrying something, she said. Kyle exhaled. Yeah. She waited. I've been working on a certification, he admitted. For leadership. Quietly, Amanda turned to him. Why quietly? He shrugged. I didn't want to talk about it until I had something to show. Hope's nice, but it also fuels disappointment. She reached for his hand. I'm not disappointed in effort, she said. Ever. He met her eyes, the woman who never rushed him into becoming, only chose him while he was. I know, he said softly. That's why I waited. Not hiding. Just holding. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I'm here, she said. Whenever you're ready. Kyle closed his eyes. Outside. The house rested, full warm, watched over by someone who already knew. Cassandra, from the guest room, smiled. Chapter 5, Missteps in Music. By Tuesday evening, Amanda's calves ached in a way that felt earned. She leaned against the kitchen counter, stretching one leg behind her, while Kyle rummaged in the refrigerator with the distracted focus of a man pretending reheated leftovers were not a personal failure. Remind me, she said, why we decided to learn a dance that assumes we have bones I do not possess. Kyle glanced over his shoulder, grinning. Because it's meaningful. It is hostile, she corrected. He laughed and handed her a fork. You're getting better. Amanda accepted the fork, skeptical. Statistically, emotionally, she smiled despite herself. They'd practiced every night since Saturday. Sometimes with Cassandra and Hector coaching, sometimes alone, counting under their breath, sometimes turning the music off entirely to focus on weight shifts and positioning. Amanda learned best when she could break movement into logic. Kyle learned best when he stopped thinking entirely. This made them a fascinating pair. In the living room, Cassandra adjusted the music volume and clapped once. Okay, from the top. Kyle took Amanda's hands. He met her eyes first, always first, and waited until she nodded. 1, 2, 3. This time, Amanda moved when she was supposed to. Kyle led the turn cleanly. They didn't collide. They froze anyway. Did we just do it? Amanda whispered. Kyle's smile was slow and amazed. We did. Cassandra squealed. Again. They did it again. Not perfectly, but without interruption. Amanda finished the turn laughing, breathless, exhilarated. I feel, she said, hands on his shoulders now, like I have just unlocked a new achievement. Kyle bowed slightly. All that hiking paid off. The joke landed, but Amanda noticed the way Kyle's smile faded faster than usual. The way he rolled his shoulders after the next repetition. Subtle but tense. You okay? She asked quietly. Yeah, he said immediately. Too immediately. Just tired. Later that night, after Cassandra and Hector turned in early and Bella was asleep clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit, Kyle stayed on the couch instead of following Amanda upstairs. She paused on the staircase and looked back. You coming? She asked. In a bit, he said. Just need to think. Amanda hesitated, then nodded. Don't stay up too late. He smiled. I won't. She went to bed alone and stared at the ceiling longer than she meant to. Kyle eventually joined her, sliding in quietly, careful not to disturb her even though she was wide awake. You didn't say anything, she murmured. I didn't want to wake you. I'm not fragile. I know. She turned toward him. In the dim light, his face looked older. Not tired, but weighted. Talk to me, she said. Kyle let out a breath. I messed up a mock assessment today. For the certification. Amanda propped herself up on one elbow. Messed up how? I hesitated, he said. Second-guessed. Tried to account for everyone instead of making the call. Is that bad? In leadership tracks? Sometimes. He rubbed his palm over his face. I keep thinking I need to be better before I say anything. Like I need proof. Amanda reached for his wrist, stopping the motion. You're allowed to be in progress, she said. I know that logically, he said. But I don't want to disappoint you. Her chest tightened, not from pressure, but from recognition. You don't, she said firmly. You never have. He searched her face the way he did when he needed truth, not reassurance. She held steady. I don't admire you for outcomes, she continued. I admire you for effort, for integrity, for showing up when it's hard. Kyle swallowed. That should be enough. It is, she said. For me. He exhaled slowly and pulled her close, forehead resting against hers. Thank you, he whispered. The next day, practice went poorly. Amanda tripped. Kyle miscounted. They collided so hard Cassandra had to pause the music. Okay, Cassandra said carefully. Who's in their head? Kyle's hand tightened on Amanda's waist just enough for her to notice. Me, he admitted. Amanda nodded. Both of us. Cassandra smiled softly. Then today's not about steps. Hector chimed in. It's about listening. They slowed everything down. Music lower. Movements smaller. Kyle focused on pressure and release instead of timing. Amanda stopped anticipating and let her weight follow his lead. They moved less but together. By the end, they were sweaty, quiet, calmer. That, Cassandra said, is marriage. Amanda laughed weakly. We're doomed. No, Cassandra said, glancing at Kyle. You're honest. That night, after everyone else had gone to bed, Amanda and Kyle stood by the fire pit, wrapped in a shared blanket, watching the flames curl into the dark. I don't need you to be perfect, Amanda said softly. I need you to keep choosing. Kyle squeezed her hand. I do. She rested her head on his shoulder. They weren't flawless dancers. They weren't immune to doubt. But they were learning when to lead, when to follow, and when to simply stand together while the music found them again. Chapter 6. The almost conflict. The misunderstanding arrived quietly. It did not announce itself with raised voices or slammed doors. It slipped in on a Tuesday night after dinner, wearing good intentions and poor timing, and sat down between them like it had always belonged there. They were around the dining table, plates half cleared, Bella drawing loops and spirals on a napkin with intense concentration, Cassandra and Hector leaning close in low conversation. The air felt comfortable, domestic, earned. Kyle stood to refill everyone's water. Cass said something interesting today, Hector remarked casually, elbow on the table. About how you always plan before speaking. Kyle smiled faintly. That sounds like her. She meant it kindly, Cassandra added quickly. That you're thoughtful. Kyle nodded. I try to be. Amanda sipped her water and watched the exchange from the side. Not suspicious, just observant. She knew Cassandra's tone well enough by now to hear sincerity where others might search for critique. I asked him, Cassandra continued, glancing between them, why he didn't tell you earlier about the certification. Amanda froze, not outwardly, not visibly, just enough for Kyle to notice. You asked, Amanda said carefully. Cassandra nodded. I was curious. Kyle set the pitcher down slowly. I told her, he said, gentle but firm, that I wasn't ready to talk about it. Amanda's brow furrowed. You told her? Yes, Kyle said. Not details, just that it existed. The silence stretched. Bella, sensing tension without context, announced, I like spaghetti. That's nice, sweetie, Hector said softly. Amanda pushed her chair back slightly, an inch at most. Kyle felt it anyway. I didn't realize we were updating relatives before each other, Amanda said, voice calm but edged. Kyle turned fully toward her. That's not what this is. Then tell me what it is, she said. Cassandra straightened. Amanda held up a hand. No, this is between us. Kyle leaned forward. I didn't tell her anything you didn't already know. You didn't tell me you told her, Amanda replied. The table went still. Kyle's chest tightened. Not defensively, but painfully aware. I didn't think it mattered. Amanda blinked once. It matters to me. The air shifted. Amanda pushed back from the table and stood. I'm going to step outside. She didn't wait for permission. Kyle stood immediately. Amanda, give me a minute, she said, already moving. The sliding door whispered shut behind her. The backyard was dim, lanterns casting soft shadows. Amanda walked to the edge of the patio and wrapped her arms around herself. Not guarded, just grounding. She breathed. Kyle stayed inside for precisely 12 seconds, long enough to make eye contact with Cassandra, who nodded once in understanding, then followed. He stopped a few feet away, giving her space. When you're ready, he said quietly. She didn't turn. I'm not angry, Amanda said. I'm unsettled. Kyle nodded. That's fair. I don't need to be the first to know everything always, she continued. But I need to know when I'm not. Kyle swallowed. I messed up. Amanda turned then. Her expression was controlled, not distant. I understand why you talk when you feel ready, she said. I respect that. But when other people know pieces of your life before I do, it makes me feel like I'm standing outside something we share. That wasn't my intention, Kyle said immediately. I was answering her honestly, not thinking about order. I believe you, Amanda said. That's the problem. Kyle exhaled. I should have told you afterward. I didn't, not because I was hiding it, because I didn't think forward. She studied him for a long moment. You're human, she said finally. He nodded. Consistently. Amanda sighed and leaned back against one of the patio chairs. This is an almost conflict, she said. I feel it. Kyle let out a quiet laugh, relief slipping through cracks in his tension. Me too. She reached for his hand. He took it eagerly but without urgency. What I need, she said, is reassurance that we're still choosing first. Kyle squeezed her fingers. Always. She searched his face. This man who led gently, who cautioned hope not out of fear but care, who stumbled when he thought preparation could prevent vulnerability. I don't need permissions, she said. I need partnership. You have it, he said. I promise. They stood there for a moment longer, not resolving but settling, letting the sharp edge dull naturally. Inside, Cassandra watched through the glass. Hector wrapped an arm around her shoulders. They're good, he murmured. Yes, Cassandra said softly. They are. When Amanda and Kyle went back inside, they didn't rehash the moment. They resumed clearing plates. Ella asked if tomorrow was another dancing day. Hector teased Kyle about footwork. Normal returned, not because it was forced, but because it had never truly left. Later that night, after the house slept again, Kyle rolled onto his side and brushed his thumb over Amanda's knuckle. Thank you, he said quietly, for telling me before it became something bigger. Amanda smiled into the pillow. Thank you for listening before it did. They didn't kiss. They didn't apologize again. They simply stayed where they were, together, learning where missteps ended and trust began. Chapter 7. Passing the test, the morning Cassandra told Amanda she approved of her. She did it by asking for help with breakfast. Not a grand declaration. Not a sit-down conversation over coffee. Just a quiet, practical, unmistakable request that assumed belonging. Can you show me where you keep the good knives? Cassandra asked, already rolling up her sleeves. Amanda smiled. Second drawer. Please tell me if you hate them. Cassandra laughed. If I hated them, I'd clean them better. They moved side by side in the kitchen. Comfortable, cooperative, unhurried. Amanda cracked eggs. Cassandra chopped vegetables with practiced ease. The rhythm felt earned. Cal tells me you don't like performing, Cassandra said lightly, not looking up. Amanda glanced at her, wary only because the comment hit close to something true. I like showing up, she said. I don't like pretending. That tracks, Cassandra said. They worked for a minute, silence companionable. He's always been like that, Cassandra continued. Quietly competent, quietly afraid. Amanda nodded. Of disappointing people. Yes, Cassandra said softly. Especially the ones he loves. Amanda set the bowl down and met Cassandra's eyes. He doesn't disappoint me. Cassandra smiled. Not relieved, but satisfied. Good, she said. Then I don't need to worry. The words landed gently, decisively. Across the kitchen, Kyle hovered near the doorway, pretending to be interested in the coffee maker. He wasn't meant to hear it, but he did. Later that afternoon, Cassandra pulled him aside in the backyard. She's the one, Cassandra said simply. Kyle exhaled like he'd been holding his breath since the airport. I know. She doesn't manage you, Cassandra continued. She stands with you. Kyle nodded. That's exactly it. That night, after the house was quiet again, Bella asleep, Hector reading on the couch, Cassandra packing quietly upstairs, Kyle and Amanda sat by the fire pit, the flames low and steady. I want to tell you everything, Kyle said suddenly. Amanda turned toward him. Okay. He took a breath, not steadying, deciding. I've been working toward a leadership certification for almost a year, he said. I've passed the first assessment. The second one. Not yet. Amanda waited. She always did. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want the pressure, he continued. Or the expectations. I wanted to earn it quietly. She reached for his hand. Thank you for telling me now. He squeezed back. I was afraid you'd feel shut out. I did, she admitted gently. But I also know why. He nodded. I don't want to build a future that only half belongs to you. Amanda leaned closer. Then don't. He smiled, a small, earned thing. Inside, Cassandra zipped her suitcase and paused, listening to their hushed voices through the open window. She smiled to herself. The test hadn't been about approval after all. It had been about recognition, and they had both passed. Chapter 8, The Shape of the Day. The rehearsal wasn't supposed to feel like a lesson. Amanda knew that going in. She told herself it would be a light run-through, some positioning, a walk-and-wave kind of affair. Nothing elaborate. Nothing choreographed beyond good sense and mutual smiles. She was wrong within the first 10 minutes. The venue, a small garden space behind the community center, chosen because it felt like them and didn't require a performance, buzzed with soft activity. Chairs waited in neat rows. Lanterns hung from the pergola, unlit but expectant. The air smelled like cut grass and the faint sweetness of coming summer. Cassandra stood near the makeshift sound system, hands on her hips, assessing the space like a general who'd been given command for exactly one afternoon. This, she declared, is perfect. Kyle squeezed Amanda's hand. She sounds decisive. She is, Amanda whispered. I'm afraid. Kyle smiled. Me too. Friends trickled in slowly. Amanda's coworker from the elementary school with her partner, Kyle's college friend who'd flown in early, Cassandra and Hector moving together with practiced ease. Bella darted between chairs like she was conducting her own rehearsal, narrating everything with complete confidence. And here, she announced solemnly, is where the kiss happens. Amanda laughed and pressed a hand to her chest. Noted. They walked through the ceremony first. It was brief by design. No dramatic pauses. No theatrical vows. Just words they'd chosen carefully, intending to mean them every day, not just aloud once. When it came time to practice the recessional, Cassandra intervened. Before you do that, she said, lifting a finger, we dance. Amanda blinked. Now? Yes, Cassandra said. Here. With people. Shoes on. Different floor. Kyle exhaled, equal parts amusement and nerves. Trial by fire, he murmured. Amanda leaned in. If we survive this, we can survive anything. Cassandra cued the music. Not loud. Not showy. Just enough rhythm to fill the space. Kyle took Amanda's hands. They stood still for a moment, ignoring the small audience, grounding themselves in the familiar weight and warmth of each other. You ready? Kyle asked quietly. Amanda nodded. Lead me. He did. The first steps were cautious. The floor felt different, less forgiving than the living room rug, less predictable than memory. Amanda focused on Kyle's cues, the subtle shift of his shoulder, the gentle pressure of his hand at her waist. They moved. It wasn't perfect. Kyle hesitated on a turn. Amanda, nearly anticipated, caught herself just in time. They smiled at each other, quick, private. The music carried them forward. Someone clapped softly. Bella gasped in delight. "You're dancing," she whispered loudly. Amanda laughed mid-step, nearly missing the count. Kyle adjusted without comment, steady and patient, as he always was. They finished to soft applause, not because they were impressive, but because they were honest. Andrea, Amanda's coworker, dabbed at her eyes. "You two look right." Amanda breathed out. Kyle squeezed her hand. Afterward, Cassandra pulled them both into a hug that lingered just long enough to matter. "You don't perform," she said again, voice thick with affection. "You show up. Together." Kyle smiled. "That's the plan." As the rehearsal wound down, Cassandra and Hector began gathering their things. Their departure loomed quietly, threaded through every ordinary action. Amanda helped Cassandra fold a garment bag. "You're leaving tomorrow," Amanda said, the words catching unexpectedly. Cassandra nodded. "Early." "I'm glad you came," Amanda said. "Truly." Cassandra met her eyes. "I am too." Later, when the lanterns were switched on for a final look and the chairs stood empty again, Kyle and Amanda lingered in the center of the space, shoes kicked off, hands linked. "I think," Amanda said, "this might actually work." Kyle chuckled. "High praise. I mean everything," she clarified. "The dance, the day, us." Kyle grew quiet, not heavy, just thoughtful. "Tomorrow," he said slowly, "I'm submitting my final assessment." Amanda turned to him. "That soon?" "Yeah," he said. "I decided. I don't want to wait for perfect anymore." She smiled. "I like that version of you." "I like this version of us," he said. They stood together as the sun dipped lower, the garden still and waiting. The wedding wouldn't be flawless, neither would the dance, but it would fit them. And that, Amanda knew, was the point. Chapter 9, 2 left feet, steady ground. The wedding morning arrived already full. Not loud, not chaotic, just layered with people and love and the quiet confidence of a day that knew exactly what it was supposed to be. Amanda noticed it first when she stepped into the garden behind the community center and saw both sides of their lives already woven together. Her parents stood near the pergola, her mother fussing gently with flowers that didn't need fixing. Her father laughed with Kyle's mother, the two of them discovering common ground in shared pride. Friends moved between them easily, bridging conversations without effort. It didn't feel like two families meeting. It felt like one expanding. Amanda smoothed her dress, not out of nerves but out of habit, and took in the scene. The chairs were filled now. Lanterns hung ready, unlit but waiting. Children whispered. Adults smiled the way people do when they know they're exactly where they're supposed to be. Kyle stood near the front, hands clasped loosely, posture relaxed but attentive. Cassandra was just off to the side with Hector and Bella, who wore a dress she clearly had opinions about and the patience to last maybe 10 more minutes. Behind them stood Luis. Kyle's stepfather hadn't said much that morning. He didn't need to. His presence did the work for him. Shoulders back, expression soft, eyes fixed on Kyle with something unmistakable in them. Pride. Not performative. Not loud. Earned. Kyle glanced back once and caught Luis's gaze. The older man smiled, not broadly but fully, and placed a hand over his heart. Kyle swallowed, steadying himself. Then Amanda appeared. Conversation softened, not hushed, just naturally quieter. She walked forward without drama, her smile easy, her eyes bright with quiet joy rather than nerves. Her parents watched her with emotion they didn't try to hide. Cassandra watched with recognition. Kyle watched like the world had narrowed to a single point he was ready to step into. They reached each other and took hands. "Hi," Amanda said, voice warm. "Hi," Kyle replied, grounding himself in the familiar weight of her fingers in his. The officiant spoke, but the words felt secondary to the truth already present between them. Their vows were simple and deliberate, chosen, not borrowed. Amanda spoke of partnership, of steadiness, of choosing without keeping score. Kyle spoke of trust, of growth, of loving her not as an idea but as a daily decision. When he finished, his voice barely caught, but it held. Luis wiped at his eyes without apology. The kiss was brief and real and followed immediately by Bella's delighted whisper of, "Now dance." Laughter rippled outward. The music began. Not loud, not commanding, just present. Kyle and Amanda stepped into the center of the garden. Shoes on grass, lanterns glowing now as if responding to the moment rather than the time of day. Kyle felt the eyes on them, his mother's, Amanda's parents, Cassandra's, but most of all he felt Luis's. He met Amanda's gaze. "You ready?" he asked. She smiled. "Lead me." He did. There was no rush, no attempt at perfection. His lead was gentle, sure, shaped by practice and trust rather than fear. Amanda followed without anticipation, her body responding instead of planning. They stepped, turned. Kyle stumbled once, barely, but adjusted without breaking rhythm. Amanda laughed softly and stayed with him. He stepped on her foot. She squeezed his hand and kept moving. They weren't flawless. They were together. Luis watched with tears openly falling now. Not because the dance was beautiful, but because the man Kyle had become was. He leaned toward Kyle's mother and whispered, in careful English, he learned how to stand. He learned how to love. She covered his hand with hers. When the music ended, the applause was warm and full and personal. Not admiration, affirmation. Kyle pulled Amanda close, forehead touching hers. We did it, he murmured. She smiled. We showed up. Later, during the slow drift into evening, Kyle slipped away briefly and checked his phone. He stared at the screen, breath catching, before finding Amanda near the fire pit, lantern light soft against her dress. I passed, he said quietly. Her eyes widened. Your certification? Approved, he nodded. Final. Amanda didn't cheer. She stepped into him and held him, grounding him the way she always did. I'm proud of you, she whispered. Kyle felt something settle in his chest. Not accomplishment, but belonging. Behind them, Luis watched and smiled, no longer as a father hoping, but as one who knew. The night ended slowly. Chairs folded. Lanterns dimmed. Families lingered, reluctant to leave the shape of the day. Before they did, Luis pulled Kyle into a firm embrace. I am proud of the man you are, he said simply. Kyle closed his eyes and nodded, unable to say more. Hand in hand, Kyle and Amanda returned to the center of the garden one last time. We have 2 left feet, Kyle said softly. Amanda smiled. But steady ground. He kissed her, not for the crowd, not for memory. Just because she was there. Just because tomorrow promised nothing guaranteed, except that they would keep choosing each other. Together.